It's time for the Money Puzzle Podcast. With good conversations and realistic solutions to the money puzzles we all face every day. I'm your host, financial advisor, chartered financial consultant, and president of Edgen Insurance and Financial, Robert Edgen. Now let's get this show started. Hi there, hello, and welcome to the Money Puzzle Podcast. I am Robert Edgen, and I'll be your guide for the ride for the next few minutes. Each week, we look at a different piece of the money puzzle and practical ways to solve it so you can have the financial confidence you deserve and the future that you dream of. This is episode number 32, and this is a special episode because I've got a guest in the studio today. I brought Jeff in. He's a great client of mine. Him and his wife, Lisa, have been great clients for about a decade. They started working with me in their early 30s, and they had some really great and big financial goals that they wanted to accomplish in a relatively small time frame. They wanted to buy rental properties, buy the house of their dreams. They wanted to start a family. They wanted to give Lisa the opportunity to work part-time instead of full-time. They had a lot that they wanted to accomplish, which I hear that a lot from a lot of people. We have all of these things that we want to do, but you know what made Jeff and Lisa different? Because they were serious about it and they were committed to it, and they actually had the discipline to put things into place to accomplish their goals in, again, a relatively short time frame. So I sat down with Jeff. He shared some of his thoughts and the ways that they did things and the things that they were thinking and how you can do the same. They've done great for themselves. They now own multiple rental properties. They have the home that they've always dreamed of. They live a great life because they were committed and serious about their finances. So listen into this conversation with Jeff, and then I'll be back next week for more of the traditional Money Puzzle Podcast. But until then, have a great week, and I'll talk to you again real soon. All right, I'm in studio today with a great client, Jeff. Jeff's actually been my client for quite a long time now, maybe a decade?
At least.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Before 2010, I think.
Before 20, yeah. So about a decade.
Yep.
I first met Jeff and his wife, Lisa, when they wanted to do some investing. They wanted to kind of take control of their finances. But you guys had some pretty specific goals when I met you. You had some things that you wanted to accomplish. Do you remember what those things were?
I believe we wanted our money to make us money.
Wanted your money to make you money. Absolutely.
Yep.
You wanted to get into the real estate world, right?
Yep.
Wanted to start having some rental properties.
Yep.
You guys wanted to start thinking about maybe having some kids,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And perhaps maybe having Lisa go to part-time versus full-time. But you needed to figure all of that out financially. Right?
Yep.
So at the time when we first met, you guys owned how many rentals?
Zero.
Zero. But you did own your own house.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
And you guys both you were in your careers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So, without getting too personal, do you remember how old you were when we first met?
Well, let's see. 30-ish?
30,
31.
Yeah. So, really fairly young to be thinking, we want to get into the real estate world. We want to have rental properties. You wanted to figure your finances out. Normally, I'm telling 30-year-olds, hey, you should figure your stuff out. You guys came to me like, hey, we know what we want. We want to figure our stuff out. Right?
Yeah.
Is that always been something that you and Lisa have just wanted to accomplish together? Is one of you kind of more of the driver towards that? Or how do you guys think about your finances, or kind of who's in charge?
Oh, well, we use it. It's together. Our belief is if you're married, be married. We have one account. It's not mine. It's not hers. We don't pay bills separate from two different accounts. It's a, trust.
Trust is a good thing in a marriage.
As far as driving it, I don't know. I suppose one's more of a dreamer than the other, as with any couple. Probably there's strengths and weaknesses to both. So.
From what I have known about you guys, you have seemed like more of the dreamer.
Yep.
Right? You have had, not that Lisa doesn't have big goals, but it seems like you kind of have the bigger goals.
Loftier.
Right? But the thing that I notice about you also is that while you have the bigger goals, I think Lisa typically like sends me Excel spreadsheets.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Which makes a great team.
It does.
So, but why are you guys thinking about these things already at the age of 30?
I don't know if it's from we're both in the construction industry, maybe the instability at that time.
But you knew you wanted something more.
Yeah.
Something better. Now, you guys at that time, you said we want to start getting into the real estate world. And what impressed me was that you were both willing to kind of get some delayed. You were making good money. Mm-hmm. But you were willing to, instead of just going out and spending it all and splurging and buying, you were willing to invest and save a pretty significant amount each month. And was that something that one of you had to talk the other one into, or were you guys both on board with that?
No, we were both on board with that.
So, because I remember I was like, okay, these are lofty goals, guys, right? And if you want to do this, because you were talking about we want to buy a couple properties a year,
yep,
right? And not only that, we were talking about putting 20 to 25% down per property.
Yeah.
Right. So now, fortunately, a decade ago, real estate was a lot cheaper.
Yep.
Right. That helped.
Yeah.
But regardless, I was like, okay, if you want to put 25% down, you got to put a big chunk of money aside every single month.
Yep.
And you guys said,
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Clockwork.
So that's right. So we started that about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you recall about how long it was before you bought your first rental property?
Well, the first advice he gave us was get to zero, pay off all debt, and then do it the right way. We had to adjust our insurance, make sure we were covered that way, and then save up for the first rental. That was probably the worst. Paying everything off, getting to zero. You hunker down, do what you got to do, and then you think you're ready, and you still got to come up with that 20, 25%. That was probably the hardest one.
Right. A little bit of patience at the beginning.
Quite a bit.
But,
and we faltered. We're not, we weren't perfect with it.
I thought you guys were perfect.
No.
Okay. But it was, wasn't it within a year that you did your first one? So within 12 months, you hunkered down, you paid off the debts, and then within 12 months, you bought your first rental property.
Yeah.
Right. To me, that is a testament to somebody who really is like committed and believes in these are the things we want to get done.
Yep.
Actually, a few weeks ago, I was doing just an episode on how you need to have not just temporary goals, but or long-lasting goals. Mm-hmm. This was a big, long-lasting goal, so it pushed you through that temporary pain and frustration of because I remember you're like I want to buy a rental. I want to buy a rental. I want to buy a rental.
It couldn't happen quick enough.
So right, but within 12 months, you guys had your very first one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we always talked about we need to have a right amount of cash flow for every house. I never told you which house to buy, right? You guys were in charge of that.
Nope.
But we did talk about we need to make sure that this house cash flows properly, right?
Yeah, we didn't just buy anyone that came up. Mm-hmm. If it didn't meet the parameters, out.
Yeah.
Period. Didn't look back.
So do you recall kind of what we had set as the parameters that like worked for you guys, how much cash flow it needed to have each month?
I believe it was $300 a month.
I thought it was 4, but it could have been 3.
I think it was 3.
Okay. So you wouldn't pick a property unless you could
minimum 300.
Make at least 300. Now, cash flow, we're talking about above all of the expenses. Right?
Yep.
So that $300 a month. Now, what did you do with the $300 a month extra when you got it?
Rolled it into the account we were saving up for the next one.
That's right.
So we just added it right to the pile that we were saving.
It was like a multiplier.
Yep.
So the first property you save and you pay it off and it was painful.
Yep.
But then you were still saving the same amount each month towards property number 2.
Right.
But now you had an extra $300 a month going into that account, which, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like maybe 6 or 8 months before you bought your next rental.
8. I think 8 was about.
Okay, so the first one took you a year. The second one took you 8 months because now you're saving a decent amount each month, plus adding an extra $300 a month in from the second property.
Yep.
Second property you bought was another condo?
No, that was we have the one condo, and then it was a townhome.
Okay. So you bought a townhome, still stuck with the same parameters.
Same thing.
Right?
300 minimum.
300 minimum.
Same thing. Rolled that profit right into saving up for another one.
How many times have you done this now?
4 times.
4 times, right? So you used your money to make you more money, which was one of the first things that you said you wanted to accomplish, right? You had your money working hard for you instead of you just working hard for your money.
Right.
You were smart about it because you now have 4 of them. They're cash flowing at least 300. And I know some of them were cash flowing definitely more than that, right? So instead of now just having an extra $1,200, $1,500 a month to go play, you were still having that money go to work for you.
Right.
Right.
We set aside the instant gratification, if you will, which society's kind of caught up in that, and live like no other now, so you can live like no other later.
That's right. And for you, so you bought 4. Do you remember roughly what time frame that took you to get those 4? 2014.
4 years.
But you do have another rental. You bought those 4, right? You have another rental, correct?
Yeah.
One of the other big goals that you guys had early on was we want to get into our dream home, right? And for people listening, I've got dream home in quotation, right? Or because everybody's dream home is different. But you guys knew kind of where you wanted to be, what you wanted the house to be. You knew, right? So after you had 4 rental properties, how did you get your 5th rental property?
The house we were currently living in, when we bought our new home, we rented that house.
That's right.
So we didn't sell it. We didn't take that. We just started renting it.
And the house that you moved into, was that in that dream home category? Was that what you were?
Good.
I agree. It is pretty good. So instead of now being smart again, instead of selling off that house, you guys had said to me, in order for us to have Lisa work less and for us to live in this dream house, and then, so Lisa can spend time, with our daughter, all that good stuff, right?
Yep.
We want these rentals to cover some of what Lisa was making.
That's right.
So we did all of the math, and it was, hey, if we have now a 5th rental, which was already had been lived in and paid down and could be, but then now you could live in your dream home. And if you look at how much you're bringing in versus how much you're spending, is the dream home costing you more than you were paying for your non-dream home?
No.
The mortgage is more.
The mortgage is more, but
it's not costing you more.
Our payments aren't costing us more.
That's right. So now you have 5 tenants who are helping you live in your dream home, right? So you guys have been on that path, and it did not take all the... This is something I talk to clients about all the time. They're like, I don't have 15 years. I don't want to wait 15 years. You guys did all of this in the equivalent of 5 years, roughly.
Yeah.
Including going from, hey, we need to pay off debts, and this is what we want to do, to moving into your dream home and having 5 rental properties.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're not, like I said, I'm an electrician, so it's not like I've got some big corporate job. So
you're a master electrician.
Yeah.
Yes.
But during that time frame, I wasn't.
That's right.
So I apprenticed.
You became one.
It was right after I got my journeyman license. So that's when we're like, okay, let's start getting our money to do something for us. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself first.
That's right. I don't like changing a light bulb. I'm scared I'm going to shock myself. And
that's good.
You take it all apart. But that's why I need you. You need me. Yes.
Right.
We do get together. Now, over the last roughly 4 years, I haven't really been able to buy much real estate, right?
The housing market's tough here in Colorado Springs.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The average house price in Colorado Springs is $375 now.
Ridiculous.
Starter homes are $250,000. It makes it hard to meet those parameters for cash flow.
Yes.
Right? But something else that has always impressed me about you and Lisa is you didn't just say, that's it, then we're done. We're shutting off all of our savings and we're not doing this anymore. Now it's just restructuring, and how can you have your money work harder for you still?
Right.
So now we're getting into the which rental property should we pay off first game.
Yeah.
Right?
It's kind of like paying off credit cards. If you have credit card debt, coming out of college, you got to do what you got to do. Take a look at the highest interest, lowest balance, however that plan works for the individual.
Yeah.
Get with an advisor, whoever that may be, go over that with them. They'll make a game plan, and it's the same kind of deal. So we'll look at our rentals, pay it down. Sure, we're not acquiring them, but we're paying down. And then when the economy turns, we'll be in a good position again to strike when the iron's hot, I guess.
Pick it up, do it again. And in the meantime now, if we are now playing this game of which property do we pay off first, which is a fun game to play. Now all of a sudden we go from, hey, this one had $418 of cash flow. We can pay that one off and turn it into $875 of cash flow.
Right.
It's almost like buying another rental property,
Yeah.
but you are setting yourself up to have paid off free and clear properties to, like you said, take advantage and strike the next time the iron is hot, right? What do you think? I mean, you've already said some amazingly smart things. Pay yourself first. I mean, got to tackle your debts. But, if you could just give, let's say, hey, here's a great piece of advice to somebody who started in their early 30s, who's been there and done that. What's some of the best financial advice that you could give?
Don't wait.
Don't wait.
I don't want to wait 15 years. Don't do that. You can't keep looking ahead 15 years. You got to start right now.
So
if you want on that path, get on that path.
So that's a great piece of advice. Okay. Thank you so much, first off, for sitting down with me, for sharing some information. I have loved watching what you and Lisa have done. You literally are like, the ideal young 30-year-olds who knew what they wanted and who were committed to it and disciplined enough to make it happen in a short time frame.
We just didn't know how to get there. So, and we had been to other advisors, just so you know. Most of them, when I sat down and said, I want my money to make me money, they laughed. I walked out. Plain and simple.
No kidding.
No kidding. And you said, here, this is how you do it. So that's my advice. People ask me at work a lot of times, and I just say, hey, it may not be with you. There may be chemistry with someone else, but go, advisors are very non-judgmental. They take what you have. Where do you want to be? Here's where you're at. Here's how you do it. And if you stick to it, you will get there.
It works.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
We'll
be back next week, but until then, go out and do something to help solve your financial puzzle. Your future self will be glad you did, and I'll see you again next week.
Registered representative of and securities offered through Securities Management and Research, Inc., SM&R. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through BFC Planning, Inc. Edgen Insurance and Financial Services, Johnson Financial Services, SM&R, American National Family of Companies, and BFC Planning are independent entities. There are risks involved with investing which may include market fluctuation and possible loss of principal value. Particular investments may not be suitable for certain situations. Carefully consider the risks and possible consequences involved prior to making an investment decision. Our firm does not provide legal or tax advice. Be sure to consult with your own legal and tax advisors before taking any action that may have tax implications.